Happy Friday, everybody. It's me, Addison, and I'm going to be talking today about mixing content from different models in Builder. So if you've ever shopped on Amazon, you know that when you're on a product page, it'll say on the side when the product will be delivered in this little info box, right? Like here it says Thursday, December 23rd. So we're going to create a similar shipping info widget that's going to be way simpler than this using Builder, Next.js, and Shopify. And the end result is going to look something like this. So like buy diamond tiara, shipping time 11 days. And if we change the URL path so that it says, let's say short sleeve t-shirt and pass that handle in, then says shipping time 5 days, right? So to do this, this heading is coming from Next.js, our product page template. This box here is our widget, and that's going to be coming from a builder section model content item. And the 5 days part, the 5, is coming from our builder data model. And so what we're looking at here on this deceptively simple looking page is data coming from a builder data model inserted into a builder section model, and all of it is integrated into a Next.js page. So we are going to be touching on a number of skills in this tutorial. This is really an expert level tutorial. We're going to be talking about custom types, data section models, e-commerce plugins, React SDK. There's a lot of stuff packed in here. And if you're just starting out with Builder, I highly recommend that you check out our Developers Hub first, get your feet wet a little bit, and when you're ready to level up, come back. As a prerequisites, so we're going to be starting with the assumption that you've already created a Next.js app. I'm going to be starting with this really simple app created with npx create next app. This is basically like a hello world. It doesn't have any pages other than starter page. We're assuming you have a Shopify store that has private apps enabled. And if you don't have private apps enabled, that's okay. I'm going to touch really briefly on how to do that. And finally, that we're going to assume you have a builder account and a brand new space. Ours is brand new. Yours doesn't have to be new. But if it is new, that's okay. By the way, this thing that you're looking at right here, this is a diagram I created in Figma. I'm going to have the link below for this. Feel free to peruse this at your leisure or to pause the video and look. We've got a bunch of links that I'll be referring to. And if you get lost at any point in my discussion, there's a flowchart that I've created here that'll show you exactly how this video is structured. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So the first thing that we want to create inside of Builder is a data model. Now, how do we do this? So if we're in content, we click on add and edit models, and then it takes us to a models page. But let me talk a little bit about what the general approach is going to be. So what we want to do is create content entries on a data model that is going to associate Shopify product handles with shipping times, specifically the number of days that it takes to ship that item, right? So let's click Create Model and see how this works. You'll select Data Model from here. Let's call our new model Shipping Times. Okay. Now we're going to create two fields. One is going to be for the product handle. So let's call it product. Let's just call it products for now. And type we'll leave as a text field because, again, it's going to be the handle for the products. And let's create another field, call it shipping days, and make it a number because this is going to be the number of days it takes for that item. We'll hit save. Okay, great. So we have our shipping times model. Now let's create a few entries. So first one we'll create is for a diamond tiara that we're going to sell in our Shopify store. And we'll say that it takes 11 days to ship. Let's give the content entry a name. This can be really anything. Diamond tiara. Am I spelling it right? Let's click publish. It's 10 p.m. on a Friday here. I'm getting sleepy. Okay, go back to my store. Let's now create a second entry, shipping times. And let's create a second entry. Let's call it short, this is the handle, sleeve t-shirt, shipping days, let's say 5. Okay, so short sleeve t-shirt. And we hit publish. Et voila, it's here. Now this is great, but there is a kind of a big problem. So let's say that you are not creating these entries yourself, but like you have a customer who has a storefront and wants to create this entries, or you have a team of content creators and or data entry people or whatever, right? So then they go in and they say, okay, cool, we have a user-friendly interface for data entry. We do shipping times. I want to say a baseball bat, and it's going to take 2 days. What's wrong here? There's no hyphen, right? But this is supposed to be a Shopify handle, and they didn't do that. So now it's not going to be associated correctly. And guess what? It's not their fault. It's not their fault because manual data entry is just error prone, right? So there's got to be a better way to do this. And there is. And that better way is called e-commerce plugins. So let me show you how that works. So if we go back, we don't need this. That was the draft. We can archive that. Bye-bye. Let's go to integrations. So I'm back on the builder dashboard. I'm clicking on integrations on the side nav. And here we have all kinds of integrations that Builder is compatible with. And we're going to enable Shopify's integration. It looks like I already enabled it. Let me disable it so you can see what it looks like when it's not already enabled. There's an enable button. Big surprise. You click on enable. Great. Now let's go back to our models. Now what the e-commerce plugin has done, and what any e-commerce plugin in Builder does, is it creates custom types that we can use in fields that are going to make data entry and stuff like that just more joyful to use and less error prone, right? So if we go back to shipping times, now let's edit the product field. Instead of text, we scroll down and look at all these great Shopify types that we have now. So we have Shopify product handle. That's great. That's exactly what we wanted, right? We click Shopify product handle. And if you're doing a different e-commerce integration, it's going to be different types that depend on your e-commerce platform's resources. So let's head over back to content. And I selected Diamond Tiara, and behold, it's no longer a text field. It's this really beautiful UI control that is clickable, has a preview image. And if you click on the pencil icon, you can select any product from your Shopify store. Now in my Shopify store, I've only got 2 products anyway. So it's not that like crazy, right? But imagine you had thousands. Well, that's why you have this search product search box. And this is a real search, right? So if I type in like diam, right? It's gonna pull up Diamond Tiara and anything with like diameter or whatever. Super responsive, super easy to use, super powerful. So these are all set up correctly because they had the right handles to begin with. So now let's take a real quick look at our flowchart. Right, so we created the shipping times data model, and then we skipped ahead and we revised the data model to use the new field. But what about the integration? I just clicked enable. How does Builder know what store to even integrate with? Well, let me show you. So if we go back to the integrations tab, there's a settings button. And in settings, you can enter all these API keys, access tokens, all that stuff. That's how Builder knows. Now, this all came pre-filled because I had already filled it out beforehand, before I started the video. Yours will be empty when you start the integration process. Excuse me. And you need to get that data from Shopify. And the way you do that is you log into your Shopify dashboard and you go to apps. And at the bottom of apps, it says manage private apps, this link. You're going to click on it. When you go there, if you have not already enabled private apps, it's going to have a screen that's like, this is what private apps are. Do you want to enable? It's just Shopify's way of saying like, do you want to expose API keys and that kind of thing, right? So I've already gone through that process, and that's why I can see my API key. And if I clicked here, I could also see various passwords and other private information. But I'll leave this to you. If you want more guidance on how to set this up, we do have a Shopify Next.js Builder starter kit that I've added in the links section in the FigJam board. So you can just scroll here, and it actually under, I think, section 4, Shopify private app, it gives you step-by-step directions about how to do this and how to enter the information into Builder. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's head back to Builder. We've entered our integration info. We've created, we've updated our model, data model. Now let's move on to creating the widget itself, right? So the widget is going to be a section on our product page. And that means that when we create a model for that widget, we should create a section model because that's what that's for. So we create a section model. Let's call it shipping info. Cool. Now let's go to content and we will create a new shipping info content item and we'll call it shipping info widget. Now let's add some blocks. Just gonna add some text here. This is going to a text block that says shipping info and another text block. And this is gonna say the number of days. We're gonna make it dynamic later on, but for now, let's just say 5 days. And this is kind of unattractive. So let us add some really bare bones graphics. I just created a box, dragged a box into this, and now I'm dragging in the layers tab my text blocks into this box. Let's style the box a little bit. Let's give it a border. Let's make the border bright red, yeah. And 5px. And let's add some padding. And we'll do it to every side. Okay, cool. And we'll hit publish. Fantastic. So we now have our basic widget, or at least the skeleton of a widget. Now let's try to get it onto our Next.js product page. Well, to do that, first thing is we need a Next.js product page. So here is the skeleton app that I created using Create Next app. And it's just hello world, welcome to Next.js, right? So the first thing we need to do is create our products route. So we'll create a products folder, then this is under pages. If you're familiar with Next.js, this will all be familiar to you, hopefully. If not, do whatever you need to do using your framework of choice to just create some kind of a route that's going to render HTML, right? So let's say products.jsx. Cool. So I'm just going to write a really simple component here. Buy my product. Oh, geez. Okay, real convincing marketing right here. Please do better marketing than that. Buy my product. All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like. It should be accessible at products, and then let's just say whatever, because it's a dynamic route. Okay, buy my product. So let's give it a little bit better styling. I created this container class that's just a flexbox that centers the content. Whoa, what just happened there? Firefox opened. That's not what I wanted. Okay, sorry about that. Right, so in globals.css, I created this container class that's just a flexbox that centers content. So let's now add that to the product component. Class name equals container, and then let's make this under a heading. Cool. Buy my product. Awesome. So now what we want to do is render the builder widget inside this page. How do we do that? Well, it's a couple step process. So the first thing we need to do is install the React SDK, the Builder React SDK. So let's head over to terminal. And the way to do this is just simply with npm install at builder.io react. Cool. Should install. It's pretty quick to install. And the first thing you want to do after installing is initialize the builder object inside the SDK. So I'm going to open up _app.js. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Next.js, there's nothing special about this file for our purposes. You just want to initialize the builder object in a bit of code that will always be run no matter what. And in Next.js, this file is always executed, right? So we say import builder from SDK, and we're going to say builder.init, and we're going to pass it our Spaces API key. Now we can grab that API key from the Builder Dashboard Accounts tab, or Account tab, which is public API key. I just click copy to clipboard and initialize. Whoops, check it out. Okay, cool. And by the way, this is not a private secret, so if you check this into like a public repo, you're not going to get burned. No one's going to chew you out. Okay, so we've initialized the builder object. Now let's head back to our product page. Now what we're going to do is we're going to import two items. One is the builder object, and the other one is builder component, which is a React component, from the builder React SDK. Okay, and the way this works, the basic idea is that we want to put builder component inside of our JSX structure, right? So if I hit save, great, builder component. Now this builder component is going to render any section or page content item, including our widget, that we tell it to render inside of our JSX. So right now, I just put builder component without any more info. And what that looks like here is a big old nothing. Well, no surprise, because we didn't say what to render from builder. So let's change that a little bit. The first thing we need to specify is the model. So our widgets model was called shipping info. I save it, and still nothing. Well, the reason it's nothing is because we need one more prop called content. So the thing is, let's back up a little bit. When you create a page or a section in Builder's visual editor, let's go back to our widget. So all this beautiful visual information on Builder's side internally is stored as a JSON structure, okay? What we need to do is download that JSON and then pass it into our content prop. And then that will cause Builder component to render our section, right? So how do we grab that JSON? Well, that's what the Builder object is for. So let's do the server side. If I say export const get server side props equals async. Let's see. Content wait, and I'll explain this in a bit. Get info dot promise and return. Okay. So what this is doing, builder.get, is that it is executing a fetch to Builder's content API, and it is going to get a content item for the specified model, in this case, shipping info. And right now, we have only one content item for shipping info, which is our shipping info widget, right? But let's say that we had multiple content items. So how would we specify the specific one that we want to fetch? Because remember, that content entry is our widget. It's the graphical thing that we want to render through the builder component content prop, right? So the way we do that is we pass a query. And you can do that by saying, you create an object and then query, and we're going to say name and shipping info widget. We simply pass the content entry name, right? Now because that's inside of get server-side props, Next.js is going to execute this server-side. So there's not going to be any kind of like flickering or anything like that, right? It's all going to be done using server-side rendering. And of course, we are passing that content as a prop into our page's main component. So let's grab that prop and let's pass it into builder component. And let's see what happens. Boom. This is our widget that's the JSON structure has been downloaded server side, and it has been passed to the builder component, and now it's rendering. It says shipping info 5 days. Excellent. So what's next? Well, we said that this would show the shipping information for the shipping time info for any given product on our Shopify store, right? And we showed how to store that association between shipping time and product in the data model. So the next thing that we have to do is pass to Builder the shipping time dynamically, right? So that instead of saying 5 days, it will say the actual number of days that it takes. Because remember, this 5 days is just something that it's just static text that we added to our text block, right? So what we have to do here is first we need to grab the data entry that corresponds to our product from Builder. So how do we do that? Well, recall that we are passing in the handle for our product page in the product path, right, for the URL. So right now it's ALSDKF, right? Let's make this more visible by rendering the product handle inside of our template. So let's say import use router from, so this is next router. This way we'll be able to grab the path. Const router equals use router, and const product equals router.query, right? So instead of buy my product, let's say buy, and then let's put in the handle of the product. Cool, so now it says buy ALSDKF. Well, that's not really a real product handle. So let's pass a real one, like Diamond Tiara. Okay, great. But we still haven't connected it to Builder. So we're just getting the same shipping info 5 days. So let's connect it to Builder. What we need to do here is we need to create a second call to builder.get that's going to grab our data from the data model, the shipping times data model. So we get the path params inside of get server-side props. And from inside those params, we have the product path. So I'm just using destructuring here. This is just getting the product path from the URL. And we're going to say const shipping days equals await builder.get. And now we're going to pass in shipping times as the model name. And inside of query, we're going to say, instead of name, we're going to do data dot product as our key, and then product as the value. So data.product corresponds to the field name for the product handle on the model, and product here, we're grabbing this from the URL path, right? And that's going to correspond to the product handle again. So we're saying, please give me the shipping time content entry for this product handle. And we're going to say promise. And what gets returned is actually kind of a complex object. And the actual shipping days that we want that's returned is going to be on data.shipping days. And you know what? Instead of that, I'm actually going to show you what it looks like real quick. So let's do a quick console.log shipping days, right? And this is going to render server side. So this will be in terminal. So we've got Diamond Tiara, okay? So I'm loading that. All right, now let me show you what that looks like. So here's the output from our console.log. This is what gets returned from builder.get. And you can see that is a lot of metadata about the content entry that we made. And you can see it says Diamond Tiara is the name. Where's the model name? I don't see the model name here, but anyway, the actual data that we want is inside of data, and then product is the handle field, and shipping days is the number of days. That's what we want to grab. So let's do that. Shipping days equals, I'm just going to grab data.shipping days. Excellent. And now we'll pass that in as a prop to our page component. Shipping days. Okay. Now what we want to do is we're going to introduce a third prop to builder component. And this one is super important. It's called data. The data prop will set the state for your content entry. And if you're not familiar with state and context in content entries, I highly recommend that you look this up in the builder docs. But if you're not familiar, you can keep watching the video and you'll probably get the gist of it as I write the code. So anything inside of the object that you pass into data is going to populate state for that content entry. So let's say shipping days, right? That number of days is now going to be in the shipping info widget state. And we can pull from that state inside a visual editor. We can create a binding between that state and one of our text blocks so that it will show dynamically the number of days. And I'll show you how to do that. So if we go to the widget, where it says 5 days, we select that content, that text block, excuse me, and click on the 4 dots where it says edit bindings. Okay, so we can now say, we can select from here combine text, right? And in dynamic text, you'll see this, this edit code button. Click on that. And if you type in state dot, you can see immediately, like when I wrote in state, right? It just shows object, right? Because this is an actual object living inside of JavaScript for this content entry. So if I say state dot shipping days, right? Now it turns to undefined. Why? Because inside of Visual Editor, shipping days is not defined on state, but it will be defined once we execute once we hit refresh on our local Next.js app, because that's going to set shipping days on state via that data prop that I showed you earlier. So we say state.shipping days, and we're going to add a suffix text space days, right? So this way, and if you're not familiar with this combined text thing, it's just a way of adding a prefix or a suffix to a data binding. So it'll say like 5 days or 11 days, or right now undefined days, right? Of course, if this really bothers you, you can go to the data tab, right? And under content inputs, you could add new field, and let's say shipping days and number, right? And you could manually create the state just for within the scope of this visual editor for previewing purposes. And I'll type in 5, and you can see that automatically updates to 5 days. You can type in 10, and it becomes 10 days, right? but we'll leave it blank and now it says null days. So we've created our binding between state.shippingDays and the text block. Let's hit publish update and see what happens. Now, if we go back to here, to our Next.js page, and we hit refresh, see it again. Sometimes, okay, there was a cache bust need to happen. Okay, so now it says by Diamond Tiara. Remember how before it said 5 days? Now it says 11 days, right? And that is being pulled dynamically in our code in this get server side props when we say await builder, and our first step is pull data from data model from shipping times data model, and then pull data from, or I should say pull JSON structure from shipping info section, and then yeah, and then third step, populate widget or section, I should say, state with shipping days. So we're doing 2 fetches, and then we're inserting the results of one fetch into the results of another, basically. And that's how we can dynamically render this. And just to prove the point to you, if we now navigate to short sleeve t-shirt, which was our other handle, notice how it changes to shipping info 5 days. And of course, if you change this, the shipping times, like let's say this is now going to take 500 days, publish update, and then hit refresh. Probably there's some caching. Look, now it's 500 days. Okay, so what we've seen here is how to mix content from different models, and especially when you're integrating it with a different backend framework. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know in comments or by reaching out to me directly if you found it helpful or you have any other suggestions, and I hope you have fun. Bye-bye.